We're late, Masturbate, and it's all your fault now. I don't know where the time goes, honestly. It seems like time's going faster. Faster and faster and faster. I never used to be late to everything. This is a new thing. Also, getting in time pressure. Relatively late in life thing for me. Alright. I've got an analysis stream today. For those of you that have joined us. One viewer. Best weekly subscriber analysis stream. Join us only on leechess.org. Yeah, we're up there. We got 2 viewers now, including me. Astrobate, is this the game you intended? Is this the game you intended to send in? I wasn't sure, you know. I need you to verify. Is this verified? Yabatis was not feeling good today, so I wasn't sure he was going to send in a game. Alright, good. No, I just want to make sure, because you didn't specifically say this was the game. You didn't specifically say, hey, this is my master, this is my game for this week, blah, blah, blah. Alright, I've got a game from Astrobate, and a game from... I've got a game from Uber Driver, and... Oh, that's weird. And, I've got a game from Snedsteg. So, is anybody here? Alright. World Senior Guys coming up in less than a month. How many days now? 21 days to go. We're up to 2025 in donations. We do need to get to 2,500. But the event is canceled. Depending on your support. Latest donation, error 404. Not sound. With $5 on Tuesday. Alright, Astrobate, we'll start with yours. Because Snedsteg is not here. Let's check for Schumacher. He sometimes sends in games. Schumacher, no games. No, I don't see anything. Nothing there. Okay. Nothing this week. Everybody's like falling away. You know, I don't understand. You don't love me anymore. What did I do to you? Alright. So, Astrobate versus Epic Blunders. E4, C5, D3. This is Summon on Sound's old. Actually, Summon on Sound preferred Bishop E2. D3 is often played the same idea of playing like F4 early. D3 reinforces the center. So if something like D5, he has his central pawn defended. But it's raised some interesting questions to me. Like, if white plays D3, should we venture something like D5 maybe? And I did a crazy thing the other day. It's unsound. I played in this position D5, and when my opponent took, I tried to play it like a Scandinavian gambit with knight f6, c4, and e6. So, this exact thing I was looking at, it's unsound. Nobody over 2389. No, there's a 2400 there. Bashikov versus 2400. So around 2400, Pierluigi Piscopo, some guy I never heard of, Ladislav Salai. They've done this. I went as far as to. I did something really crazy here. I played Knight C6. This was a blitz game, but the computer thought I was like totally full of crap here, and my opponent played the horrible Knight E2 now, which is ridiculous. So if White plays Knight F3, I would have to have responded maybe with like H6, and I don't have enough compensation for the pawn. So this is a bit too much. But it's worth thinking about. You know, if you played D5 and White were to take, you should just recapture with the queen, and then we would get a rat or whatever you call it, like in reverse. So it's like my game with Heinrich Danielson from the World Senior 2 years ago. We do queen takes, and he'll play maybe like bishop E3 or knight to C3. And the argument would be, we try to make the queen, we try to derive a profit from that queen coming out with queen D7. Here's a game by Burkic, and another one by another GM. So this has been played by Pia Kramling, some pretty serious players, Kurojita, Bonch. Lots of grandmasters have done this. But the problem is, like, you can't force White to give up his center. They're not obligated to give up the center. They can just play the King's Indian attack or whatever. So, it is what it is. Alright, so you played Knight C6, the normal move, and the opponent played G3. This is absolutely normal. Now, I think D5 is probably better than on the previous move. You can see it's got the best score for black. Of all variations, White's winning percentage is the smallest with 29. The difference is now White's committed to this G3, which means he's going to put his bishop on G2. So if he does something like this, and you take, he has to make some kind of concession. It isn't that bad, but the bishop isn't good here. It's blocked. Or in case 2, you know, it's just giving up his strong point. I think that there's no optimal solution for White, you know, after G3, D5. So I like that move to go D5 here. You played E5, which I'm very surprised by, man. This is not a kind of formation you would typically do. It's not bad. But I have to ask the question, like, where do you come up with E5 here? Unusual. You're tired of them getting the F4 in? Yeah. You're upset and you went off the reservation, and some Republican senators are probably talking shit about you. That Montana guy. Yeah, Republican senator from Montana is probably talking trash about you right now. Or a candidate for governor or senator from Montana. You went off the reservation. Nothing good to say. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. Off the reservation. I don't love E5. It's okay, but why? You should just play G6 or D5, or maybe even E6 with the idea of D5. You can play anything. Knight F6 is good too. Okay. Anyway, this square is a little bit weak, and we're not really used to seeing you playing the structure. But it's fine. You're playing the Botvinnik system. Botvinnik Acerbate. Now H3, it's very, very slow. I've talked about this setup. Ivanov crushed me with this, with reverse colors. He did a F5, F4. That's a nasty type of pawn sacrifice. Knight E2, F4, F5, quick. By him here. Oftentimes, if you play E5 and they play F4, you're supposed to like take on F4. So they can't do that to you, I guess. It's a bit counterintuitive, but this move is extremely slow. H3. And then you got very creative here with a Pilango or Mariposa. Interesting. It's a very interesting idea to play bishop h6, a la Nona. The computer was brutal and it evaluated this as dubious. But let's not be so harsh. The normal quote-unquote move is bishop g7, placing our bishop behind the pawn where it's like restricted by its own pawn. One of the reasons you can do this is, of course, his plan of f4 can be answered by pawn takes pawn, in which case the bishop is now very good. So in a sense, he's not really happy to play f4 necessarily. But okay, creative move by the opponent, by Astrobate rather. And if bishop takes h6, you take with the knight. Your knight is misplaced, and Nona Gaprindashvili, who loves to do this, I think it goes back to Georgian tradition, because Nona is from the same generation as Bakuti Gurgenidze, Georgian grandmaster who's long since passed away. But Gurgenidze was a specialist in kind of like lock structures, like the Karo-Kan, and he was fond of probably doing this, and then she got it from him. Oftentimes what we'll try to do is bring the knight back to f7 and maybe place the king on a dark square. Ideally, you'd like to have time to play f6, king f8, king g7, and then get the knight, because the knight is misplaced on the side of the board. It's a concrete, downside of black's setup. And we'd rather not, let's just say, you have to do it in many cases, like here, but f7 might be more constructive than going back all the way to g8. With the knight in f7, it controls lots of squares, h6, g5, e5, and then d6. So I think in a lot of cases, that's the plan. Anyways, bishop h6, he doesn't take, and now you traded. White takes with the queen, and I think now, again, strange as it may seem, you need to consider this type of idea where you'll place your king on g7 manually. But I think this move is controversial because it's slow. The F file is likely to open up, and you've got to be prepared, to answer that. What do you do? Maybe like d6. If f5, f6, and try to keep the position closed with your king on g7. Something to think about. Because the problem is in the game with this queen on c1. Another option for you might be to play like h6, but do you really want to do that? Maybe f6, maybe h6, maybe just king f8. But when you go knight f6 here, it leaves this square open. Does white, want to play queen h6 now, he probably should seriously consider playing queen h6 now. It's like playing the hippo and not playing h6. White can get in there, prevent you from castling, possibly mess with you with like h4, h5. But this is pretty much going to force you to jump through some hoops, maybe castle queenside. I think it's worth considering for white. And that's a downside, and that's why the knight on f7 is so good. Oh, g5. Oh, well, that's another extreme idea. But it's a lot of pawn moves. And by that time, he might be able to open it up. It depends on the situation. Yeah, g5 is considerable, but it has some disadvantages too. Shaki, welcome back. Yeah, oftentimes you have to go back. Shaki and Sensing, the Scandinavian crew is here, along with Astrobate. So knight f6, yeah, knight f7 is an all-seeing knight. It's a seeing eye knight. The beautiful square would be ideal. You had to come back. You forgot something. Okay, knight f6 castles, and now castles. And again, you've got to shore up these dark squares around your king. Now he can wedge the queen on h6, but he doesn't have the h-file attack. But the f-file does look dangerous. And you know, you're not really set up to meet the f-file threats here. I think that f4, f5 is the most iconic. You had to. This is the best weekly subscriber analysis stream. Yes! That's right! You had to. You have a game for us? You're not even a subscriber. Shaki's not even a subscriber, and he's here for the best weekly. Unbelievable. He's not even a subscriber, and he still watches the stream. He still comes to the best weekly subscriber analysis stream. It was either that or... No, I can't remember. I was going to create some troll title for the stream. But how are you meeting this f4, f5? White's a little bit retarded because of the placement of the queen. It's going to slow down his development, you know. He's going to have to move the queen again in order to get the queenside pieces out. Very funny. But we're expecting f4. Instead, White plays g4. And he has enough pawns on white squares, in case you guys didn't notice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that'll be 6 now. That's a lot of pawns on light squares. I think f4, either f4, getting in a quick break with f4, f5 possible, or developing his pieces in a sensible way. But g4, so he wants to play knight g3, which is actually a really kind of crappy square for the knight. So I'm not super worried about that. You should play d6, and you didn't. You played another move that I can't condone. This is not good now. This is a bad moment for this. You played d5, which under different circumstances might be a very good move, Astrobate, but you have no answer for this. What are you going to do if he plays g5? Do you have an answer for this? Because I don't see it. He spikes the pawn forward, your knight has to move, presumably to h5, and then he takes. This is pure speculation. Probably knight d4. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit slow to get out developmentally, but I don't know. You know, I don't know if you can really justify sacrificing the central pawn on d5. Alright guys, don't forget to donate to the best subscriber stream. The best weekly subscriber stream here on Lee Chess. Astrobate d5 impulsive. Why not just d6? Most of White's pawns are on the wrong color. This is a closed Sicilian. Your plan is dark squares. Secret. I'll teach you a secret. That's your plan, right there. And you even have a white square bishop to guard the white squares here on this diagonal. Potentially a good attacker, by the way. And it's a hell of a lot better than his light square bishop, which is just a big pawn. So that's what you should do. You should play d6. And if he plays f4, I think you have to consider taking it. Not to let him push past with a giant flood of pawns, like this sealer. He's going to seal you in with f5 and then, you know, bury your body in the wall like a mafioso hitman. You can't let him bury your body in the wall here. You got to get out, you know. You'll be buried alive. Takes, and that's the normal strategy in the Botvinnik. You take it. Now here you don't have an open bishop, but you have a good square for your knight. If, for example, let's say knight takes knight e5. Knight e5 is a great square. You can't be driven away that easily. But this is a big mistake, and then he plays that, which is horrifying. Your opponent's move. This is the worst move of the game thus far. Solid, but passive and weak. So, I don't know. I think you should focus on development. Even radical suggestion of knight to d4, because you do end up with a strong center on the right color complex, but I think you should be focusing on development here. So the obvious suggestion is bishop e6. I would expect bishop e6, and then white, probably something like knight there, d4, knight d1, and then you have a good game, but it's a very locked position. You're gonna want to break through on the queen side with c4. This is a King's Indian. Now, but no, you don't develop. You played h5. You're out of control. You're an out of control teenager, like Cartman. h5 is interesting. I mean, I'll give you credit. It's spicy. I'll give you credit. It's spicy. You know, if things go right, you might pull this off. But at the same time, you know, he built this wall here. It's hard to break him down. You're going to need time. You need to play king g7, rook h8, and rip open the h-file. And he can throw his queen into h6 to kind of mess with you. So I just don't know if you should do this just yet. It seems like h5 might be a little premature. Computer likes development. Okay, so knight g3. Now, from my experience as a King's Indian player, what you normally would do here is h4, fixing the dark squares. And then he'll go back, and you can play knight h7. But maybe we can't do this because the position is not closed. We have a problem here, Houston, with that. So you can play h4, but then you have to lock the position or fix it somehow with like d4. And now he can play f4. You take, white recaptures, and then you move your knight, and you try to use that square. The dark squares. Luke, come over to the dark side. See? The theme, though. Everything is about dark squares. It's like, it looks good for black. It's like Fisher Curious, Caro Khan. Okay, knight g3, d takes e4. This move might be okay. Well, I mean, his move is bad. He doesn't develop his pieces. He's worse than you. takes, and now g4 is just hanging. H takes g4, and then h4, and suddenly white is down a pawn with 0 compensation. Though this move is a bit risky looking, I think you can pull it off. You still have problems with h6, but he can't get access. So what happens after takes, queen h6? Oh my gosh. Takes, queen h6. You would have to take here, and then he has this move. There's a really funny trap. Now, say you play for mate. I could see this happening. Check. Takes, check. And it's a perpetual draw. You have to be very careful about this. That's what I would have anticipated. I mean, after this, queen h6, what are you going to do? I don't think you have another option. Maybe you could prevent it. You can play, you have one other option. You can play knight e7. There's a check. You have mate? No mate. You have queen e1 check. But that would be only like a repetition at best. So if you want to win, you'd have to play knight e7, guarding the g6 square. But I don't like that queen on h6. I mean, it's very awkward for us. Anyway, I wouldn't have allowed that. But you played a crazy move here. Queen takes h4, sacrificing a piece. Interesting game, though. You know, this just might work because white's so far behind in development. I think your move is actually okay. So you weren't satisfied with this. You said, I want more. Queen takes h4, g3 is guarded, f4 is guarded, g7 is guarded. You're threatening to take with the queen now, and so his only move is knight f6 check. And after king g7, the problem is you have this threat down the h-file and g3, and white just doesn't have any pieces developed. White is losing. Very nice. Objectively, you have to have compensation. Yeah, black is winning, actually. So that was a nice move. Very nice move, queen h4 by you. Where is everybody today? Shaki, you left your friends back at home. I don't know, very slow around here. Okay, hopefully they'll come. They are coming. King g7, knight c3, and then knight d4. Not a big believer in development, Acerbate. But shouldn't you want to play like g3? It's not mate. It's not mate. I mean, he has this, at least. Okay, but knight d4 is not a bad move. I don't think there's anything that white can do. Now he played this. I mean, I don't know what to suggest. Okay, he loses his queen with this move. But the problem for white is that he doesn't really have a defense. I mean, the best he could do is, like, what, queen d2 or something? And if g3, move the rook, but, like, where? He can't go here, he can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. He's totally lost. I think the biggest thing about the position is the bad bishop. That's his extra piece. He's up a piece that doesn't matter. You know, it's just a pawn. But you're up 2 pawns. No, you're up 3 pawns. 2 pawns. You have 2 pawns for a pawn. I mean, a piece. Whatever. Alright, guys, well, 92 mate. It's not just winning the queen, it's mate. Look at that. No Fortnite, please. Who thought it was mate? I thought you were just winning the queen. It's actually mate. Damn, dude, he missed mate and losing his queen on the same threat. No Fortnite, please. Alright, guys. Any subscriptions enable you to get... I should actually log in over there to Discord. We have a Discord channel, pub/. You can use the Discord command, but I just want to say that until October 31st, Halloween, Twitch is offering free Discord Nitro for anyone who subscribes. So that's another reason to subscribe. Besides just supporting me, Halloween haunts your Discord. Alright, let's see. Who's online? Nobody in my Discord. Alright, guys, next game. Nice job, Asterbait. I've got Snedsteg. And the game from... We've got another game from Uber Driver. Alright, Snedsteg was here. I think he left. Just being quiet. So Snedsteg must... We must be white here. Let me see this submission. Game submitted. This was a Swedish chess league. Phil Rizzuto. Swedish chess league. White 1868, black 1783. Is this an online game or over the board game? I'm assuming this is online. The Swedish Online League against Phil Rizzuto. Alright, I thought you wouldn't be playing the Scandinavian. Your opponent played the Scandinavian, and I played the Scandinavian a lot with mostly Knight F6, like your opponent here, but it's crap. It's really bad. I mean, the problem with the Scandinavian is you're knocking out the opponent's central pawn with your own central pawn. Okay, that's fine. In and of itself, it's okay. This exchange of pawns is fine for black. But you're second to move, and you're opening the position. So it's over the board, 90 plus 30. So standard time control. 30 extra minutes after 4 moves. I just want to say, generally speaking, the exchange of pawns is fine. But black's real problem is that he's behind in development. And so opening the position when you're black isn't okay. It's not okay. The real old school format. Well, it's sad. It's sad to say that, to be honest, Snedsteg. Yeah, 90 plus 30 plus 30. It's practically modern. It's actually not real old school. Old school is like 40 moves in 2 hours, and then another hour for the next 20 minutes, and then another hour for the rest of the game. That's my preferred, an 8-hour time control. What you're doing, the standard FIDE time control, is actually fairly quick. I prefer to have 2 hours. Alright, but sadly, we're calling it old school now. The best we could get. Very few tournaments with longer time control than that nowadays. Did you ever play in the Rilton Cup? There's that yearly, the traditional Christmas tournament in Sweden. I had a friend of mine who was thinking of playing. I mean, I'm not, but never played in it. Speaking of classical time controls, d5, e takes d5. Now the problem is, if you take back, white has a free move, duh, and then whatever you do, queen a5 or queen d6, boom. And this is what happens in the Scandinavian. I don't care where the queen is. a5, d8, d6. In all variations, now white even has another move, d4, and now black plays, but the point is we now have a strong pawn. If black doesn't. So it doesn't matter that you traded off white's strong pawn in the center for your own center pawn, because now there's another one. And there's a famous game, Morphy versus Morphy versus Morphy versus Labordonnais? No. Morphy versus somebody who played e5. I can't remember now. I'm really getting dementia. Anyway, Morphy game with white. Black played e5. Anyway, knight f6 as an attempt to improve on the Scandinavian with queen takes d5. I love to play this. I played it a lot, and the reason why I love to play it, it leads to open positions, and if you're good tactically, that's fine. But my reason for playing this opening years ago, 20 years ago and before, was really always the fact that it was less well studied than most other lines. So it had a lot of surprise value, and the opening variations weren't as well known by players. But nowadays, there's much more information floating around, and I think it's lost almost all of its surprise value. And its weaknesses become very apparent. That's the problem. You know, it's like a kind of dubious line that was interesting when it was new or unexplored, but now there's no secrets anymore. I mean, this variation is just not that good. And secondly, we can argue very concrete reasons why it's not good. White's not behind in development, but white has two powerful central pawns against 0. And that's my new thing since a few years now. I really believe in the power of the center. And however many games I played with this variation for black, I never trusted it. But the problem is that against Oliver Mihawk, like 10 years ago, I had this game, and I drew by playing c5. You know, but the idea would be, like, if I could get in c5, I could equalize, right? Like knight f3, c5 is what I'm talking about. There it is. I managed to draw. But what I'm trying to do is erase the problem with black's position. I'm trying to erase that central pawn on d4. You can't erase it, though. Knight takes d5. In the game, you played a different move order. Knight f3, whatever. Knight takes d5, d4, we transposed. And so I've tried everything. Bishop g4, g6, bishop f5, c6, every legal move. e6 with the idea of c5 also. So his opponent played bishop g4. Now there's two approaches for white, and that's the other thing about the knight f6 Scandinavian. I can't say enough bad things about it because I lost so many games with black I don't even know where to begin. But there's more than one problem. There's more than one way for white to get an advantage here. And I've lost, again, you know, many games. So I think h3 is my personal preference. You know, you might want to throw that in. And it wouldn't surprise me if this were black's best option. Carlsen Magnus versus Nigel Short. I don't think that black can really rely on this move. Unless knight b4 is a threat, which is not. Queen f3. Yeah, this has been played. Knight b4. That's stupid. Anyway, alright, what you did is fine, but objectively, like, you should either play h3 or c4. Those are the most aggressive. The main line is c4, knight b6, c5, knight fd7, and then h3 or bishop c4. Bishop c4. I lost a really bad game to James Plaskett 25 years ago with black, and I never played this. I never wanted to play this line again after that. I gave up playing bishop g4 shortly thereafter. It's better to play g6 objectively. I would argue that g6 is definitely superior to bishop g4. Alright, bishop g4, bishop e2. Quiet move now. And with this quiet move, I think white's advantage is smaller. You didn't know about this idea. Yeah. c4, knight b6. Now, you know, maybe black should give some serious consideration to knight f6. I've seen people do this. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think, like, God, I don't know, you know, they're probably old games from the 1800s. I mean, I don't know, early 1900s, whatever. I saw some old game with this. Some really famous classical player, I don't remember who it was. Objectively, it may not be any worse than doing knight b6. Knight b6 is like an Alekhine, and you're being combative and trying to counterattack the c4 pawn. And the similarities with Alekhine's defense are very clear. But c5 is very well known. This is known to be a mistake because of queen b3. So black's supposed to play knight fd7, and then after bishop c4, you have to watch the bishop takes f7, so black has to play e6. And then on h3 or knight c3, I guess h3, you have to take again, because there's too many problems with bishop h5. That's how I got crushed. So that's a big issue. This is quiet and okay, but it's not that much. So now black plays e6. So here the question is, can you get much of an advantage in this line? You're definitely slightly better, but it's not much. Castles. And I would normally play bishop e7, probably. But it appears that knight c6 is a bit more active. However, your opponent played a sort of passive move, knight d7. You know, there's a risk he's running that he's going to get hit by like d5. Maybe it's not a problem. I guess knight d7 is okay. He won't get as much pressure on the center, though. I mean, this is clearly a more active way to develop. Well, our idea would be, if you try to hit him here, if you try to bust through with like d5 or something, you don't have enough support. So let's see, knight c3, bishop e7. If you try to push d5, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, and now bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3. I'm surprised if I didn't have a game here in my life. Knight e5, bishop e2, castles, black hits away. So I'm a little surprised how bad the statistics are here. Clearly white is better, but is black that bad? 0.7. Like a classical Alekhine with bishop g4. I don't think the position's that bad, but bad players like me tend to play this opening. Not the good ones. But I don't know. I don't know about knight c6. I honestly think I probably played bishop e7 for the most part. If c4, knight b6, this is also possible. Years ago I had a game against someone where they did queen b3 and I played queen c8 in a similar position. There's a Yuri Lapshin game. Even this is not so bad for black, probably. It's more solid to play bishop e7. Develop the king side. I want to get my king out of here with black. There's no rush with a knight d7. So you play what? c4, knight b6, and again, you know, he can consider knight f6. I mean, there's 3 games here. I don't really see the big. Honestly, I don't really see the big advantage in knight b6 here, attacking what, like the c pawn. Why? I guess it shields you from queen b3. But there's only one game from '91. By the way, Sergei Samagin is real big in the Russian Chess Federation now. I played that guy. He was a C3 Sicilian player. He's pretty far up the Kaiser's ass there in Russian chess. The Fascist Chess Federation. Knight 5 b6. Maybe he's like president of the Russian Chess Federation now. Grandmaster and C3 Sicilian specialist. Knight 5 b6. But I think this is like, again, queen b3, and we can defend b7 in more than one way. There's always queen c8, not ideal, or there's always rook b8. Maybe black can even sack a pawn. I would think like it would be reasonable to consider sacking this pawn and then trying to complicate the game with something like c5. How bad is this? Oh, it's a pawn. It's a pawn sacrifice. Guys, somebody followed. We got to get some follows because we're falling behind. Sac Draw donated 603. Taking us up to 2031.03. Wasn't it 602 last week? Is that the date or something? Thank you, man. Feel free to submit a game. At least have a subscriber around here. Shocky never subscribes anymore. Alright. Boom. Shaming my viewers. Agree, black should be quicker to get his king out. Well, I mean, the big danger in this Caro-Kann structure, Scandinavian, is that I smack him with d5. You know, but your setup isn't that aggressive. The problem with bishop e2 is that it's a little bit quiet, you know. So you can't really do d5 and it's all that big a deal. You know, like in that other line we saw. Here, knight c3, and yeah, Smagin played bishop e7. Of course, I would play bishop e7. You know, by the way, like c6 doesn't prevent d5. Newsflash. Which is even more reason not to play it. So Godena beat Samagin back in 1991. Godena is a good player. Speaking of players I didn't see on the list for this year's World Senior. He played the last 2 years. I did not see him on the list for Porto Santo. Maybe Godena only plays when the World Senior is in Italy. Coincidence? Anyway, bishop e7, I agree with Samagin, not on politics. What happened here? c5, oh, he played knight c8. So this is a problem. This is a problem. Maybe your opponent is actually right. See, what happened to Samagin was he got hit by this, and now if knight d5, pawn d5, hello? Actually, a c3 Sicilian player like Sergei Samagin should know about. They're both c3 Sicilian players. Alright, that's definitely strange. Alright, this is definitely a conspiracy. Coincidence? John Ems would see queen b3. Double attack. d5 and b7. So your opponent actually, I think his big problem was knight d7. But I mean, this makes some sense because That's serious. That would be serious. C5 would be seriously strong. Now D5 maybe isn't so bad. What are we going to do about it? Okay, I mean, I think the first thing for black here is to be like, is white threatening anything? You know, really. Pawn takes c6, wrecking our structure. Not the end of the world, not good. Pawn takes e6. But most importantly, white's threatening to open the position with the black king still in the center. So say black takes like 3 times. Take, 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 take. Black still needs to move the bishop in order to get castled. Meanwhile, his b7 pawn's hanging. The best he could probably get is like dropping b7 for nothing. So I don't think that black should bring your queen to d5. Effectively developing a piece for you. He took and played bishop b4. You know, by the way, like, if he takes the other way with the e-pawn, this isn't that devastating. But I think, you know, he should consider taking here, and then on knight takes d5. Can he get out? Can he get out of trouble? Realistically, I think the best black could do is probably like just lose a pawn here. Take, queen takes d5, and play bishop e7 and get the hell out. As they say, while the getting's good. Queen takes b7, castles. At least here he has a chance, you know, it's not that bad. Queen d4, I saw queen d4, but it didn't seem to do anything, but I guess we need to have a second look. In the game. No, I was looking at this. I was looking at another line. In this line, for example, I looked at it in this line where you're attacking, you know, this and this, and I dismissed knight f6, but actually this isn't so simple because you would have, you know, you would have like bishop e5 check. Not fatal, obviously, but also not pleasant either. Mr. Coffee, you made it. I was worried about you, man. Well, anyway, so he does c takes d5, e takes d5, and now a nice try, bishop b4. But now it's really begging for queen d4, because it's triple attack. Oh. So if you play queen d4, he's going to give you all of his bishops. Bishop takes c3. Aha. Oh, so there's major issues here with queen takes g7. Black has like queen f6 maybe. Am I on standard time now? No. No, you guys... No, we changed this Sunday, and you guys changed the following week. Is that right? Yeah, we changed this Sunday, you guys changed the following week. By the way, I have to go to Germany for a few days next week. So I won't be streaming on Tuesday and Thursday next week. No Tuesday and Thursday streams, sadly. I will try to create a tournament for the Tuesday, but I won't be streaming it. So no me streaming on Tuesday. No analysis stream next week on Thursday. Okay, but anyway, this is very interesting. Now, in retrospect, what about... Okay, he didn't want to play this. Well, I mean, again, there's the possibility of queen d4, and there's also the possibility of d6. But d6, it's unclear how devastating d6 really is. It might not be so easy to work with that. The point was to open the position. So this looks like he's asking for it. Queen d4. Objectively, what would have happened? Let's just summarize. Bishop takes f3. Thing is, you have this like in-between move. For example, takes, 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 queen f6. Those are some nice bishops you got there. That's a pretty ugly position for black. You know, I think this endgame looks difficult. Quite difficult. Bad structure, 3 Isolani, bishop versus knight. No outpost for the knight. Bishop on d4. Ugh. Play f3, keep him off of e4. This is really bad for black. So queen d4, he missed it, or decided to not risk it. You take on e6, and then knight d4. Even keeping both bishops, you could do that too. Yeah, you have knight d4. You also have knight g5, by the way. Which is maybe like a more aggressive version of the same thing. If knight g5, what's he going to do? I think he has to, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what I would do. He needs to find a freaking good move, like yesterday. This looks awful for black. Your bishops are going to wreck him. And the problem is, there's all these tactics with f7. You don't have the f7 tactics here. You only have knight e6 and f5 square. Possibly knight b5. But I think this might be even stronger. What the heck is the guy going to do? And it's a disaster, because if he practically has to castle. Plus there are threats against h7. But let's just say takes, takes, queen b3, you know. You're winning a pawn at minimum here. Bishop takes, queen takes c6 check, king h8, b takes c. But I'm not sure that's your best necessarily. Maybe you don't care about that and just take and preserve your structure. This position is horrendous. But the thing about the knight on d5, like in the other variation, you kind of might have to take it at some point, because it is really strong on d5. It's hard to play around that indefinitely. So this happened. e6, bishop e6. Knight d4 castles, takes, takes, and then queen b3. And after bishop takes c3, you know, you played a weird move here with pawn takes. I guess you could do what you want, but to me it seems like either you take on e6 and win the pawn. Oh, there's a problem. I get it. So this is a problem, like check, king h8, b takes c. No, I don't get it. I thought you had rook e8 for a second, but he has here. You have here. He can't. You can take the pawn, it looks like. It's not a great pawn, but it's a pawn. And your bishops are unbelievably good. Yeah, I mean, you're clear pawn up with the bishop pair. But if you're not going to take the pawn, then preserve your structure. I could understand it, though. You figured like you can use the b pawn to kick his knight off of d5, maybe. I mean, you're still clearly better. This isn't bad. But the problem is he has a blockade strategy against these pawns. It's very typical. He can do like knight c5, like a Nimzo. I think now that's his chance. Yeah, he blockades with knight c5. So now you're going to have to give up like your other bishop for the blockader knight. The problem is he could put another one on d7 and then reinforce it. His knights do work pretty well together against the two bishops. So queen c2 now. I mean, that square is a tad passive. But I mean, you know, you got to make a choice. A3 is a bit awkward too. There's no ideal square. Queen c2, rook c8. Yep. I don't like this. But I mean, you know, let's just consider the c3 pawn weak and the e6 pawn weak, and they write each other off. You're still better. But I think the key is going to be finding the place where trading bishop for knight gets you a better endgame. His pieces are way too active to attack him. You're going to have to win by some kind of transfer to an endgame where you're better and grind him down. So right now it's two bishops versus two knights. At some point, you're going to have to trade one of your bishops for a knight under the right circumstances. Like that one. Rook a d1, queen f6. Okay. And then rook d6 here. Strange move by black. He's moving backward. He put his queen on f6 and then he unputs it on e7. But why? Okay, there's not so many things that black can do, perhaps. I'm not sure about the queen f6 move at the same time, but where do you want to put it? On a5, like a Nimzo? It's out of play. Maybe throw it out on h4 and see what happens, see what sticks. Then you can hit him with rook d4. He doesn't have a better square. e8, playing for the white squares. I think this is as good as anything. Queen f6, rook d6. Okay, now black needs some kind of plan. I mean, why not just like b6? I think he should just play b6. And then if you double... Oh, actually, yeah. Let's say b6 double, knight e5. What's going on here? You're better. Well, not a surprise. But still, it's not easy to win. So he retreats his queen. Kind of a weird move. Rook f d1. And then another weird move. Now his knights are redundant, but they're kind of useful. I also think that b6 is important for him. Why the hell doesn't the guy play b6? You know, just protect that strong point. Then he could move his other knight to e5 or f6 and try to move on with his life. But this is kind of ugly. That actually blocks the b6. I don't love it. And now bishop g4. And you're threatening bishop takes c5. Here I expected rook f6, but he can't because of this. So it's hard for him to protect e6. plays king h8. Yeah, okay. And now if you win the pawn, it's not that great, you know. He's kind of well coordinated. So you played what? Queen e2, knight d5. Now his knights are getting good. You have bishop takes e6. Oh, he's cutting you off. Okay. You have bishop c5. Oh no. Oh no. You're winning a piece? He tried to be fancy with knight d5, and he allows you to play bishop takes c5 and rook takes d5. Oof. I don't know, did he think he had some kind of in-between move here? He does have knight takes c3, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I assume that he was trying to do something tricky. What's up with knight takes c3? We play maybe queen e5. Do we have anything here? I don't know. You could play queen e5, but then on knight takes d1, you got a problem, officer. Bishop takes d1, rook f5. You like losing the freaking exchange. So this guy doesn't go for it because of what? What's your move? Yeah, queen e5 is losing. But you could play other moves. Queen e5 appears to be losing, although I'm still not 100% sure. Is it? Queen e5. He has like knight takes d1. They're really weird moves now. Yeah, there's too many wild cards in this position. Queen e6. This isn't gonna work. Is it? Queen e6, rook e6. Oh, maybe this works. Okay. Well, I guess this might work. Let's see. If knight c3 we play queen e6, his queen is attacked. He has to trade queens. And then we take, and now his rook is hanging. But he's down, you know, he's down the exchange. Bishop takes e6. Other possibility. This is also. But here you're only slightly better. Unless you have this. It could be a minor problem. We have a technical issue. Oof. So he ends up with a back rank mate. Ooh, no. Bishop takes e6. Oh my god. And if he takes your rook, you take his rook. And if he takes your bishop, you take his knight, and he can't capture because of the back rank mate. So that's why he didn't play knight takes c3. Nasty. It's mind-boggling. A lot of tactics there. So finally, he decided to do it this way. Okay. But he's losing in exchange, isn't he? Losing a piece. He's losing a piece. Oof. Wait. Wait. Never mind. C6 is covered. Welcome, move 11. Yeah, he just lost a piece. Yeah, I mean, Black just, you know, he didn't really have a clear plan. He was really drifting. Here it feels like you should have some kind of tactic, but I don't see it. You have to cover your own back rank. C1 is a problem. There's no queen f4. Okay. Just trade. Brutal. Yeah, alright, good game. But again, you know, in the opening, you know, by the way, what does Black do in the world of like Knight f6 Scandinavian players? They do Bishop g4. They have this first. This was Andrew Martin's idea years ago to just do Knight f3. But there's also obviously Queen takes d5. They can transpose back to normal Scandinavian. Or is there some kind of gambit they do with c6? This has been played by Nepomniachtchi. That was some kind of blitz game or something, I'm sure. What am I misremembering? Yeah, I mean, I guess most people play Bishop g4. Yeah, okay, this is what, like, Smerdin recommends, probably. After Bishop g4, if you try to get fancy with Bishop b5 check, now it's a kind of gambit. You can do h3, Bishop takes f3, Queen f3, and then Queen takes d5 with a slight edge for White. Hard to believe that White has a negative score here. It is suspicious. It's not great. How could White have a negative score in this position? That's pathetic. Anyway, yeah, it's definitely dubious. Take it from me. All right, so game 3. Oh, Uber Driver's not here. We have a game. Something submitted from Uber Driver. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's a game from Uber Driver. Okay. You're right around 1900 FIDE now. Yeah, that's solid now. You need to push over 2000. I think you can do it. Just don't play enough. Need to play more. Move 11, welcome. What do you guys got for me? Sac draw? Sac draw just dropped a small donation. But I have yet to see any information about like a game submission or something. Gonna try to reach 2K, yeah. So we got Uber Driver with White against the 2150. Uber Driver playing d4. He seems to prefer e4. He was doing some Catalan, I thought, for a while. Now this? Oh. So now White's playing like a bad... Verisov. But, no, this was played by... This was recommended in, I mean, it's a Jabab with London idea. You could do knight c3, bishop f4, knight c3, d5, bishop g5. Yeah, this is disgusting. Knight c3. D5, exclamation point. And now, if bishop G5, we got a Soviet chess conveyor. This looks familiar. Right, you know, bishop G5, bishop G7. Wait, what about knight E4? No high-level games there. See, knight E4. Knight E4. Uber driver playing crappy moves. No, it's okay, it's okay. If knight C3, you have to play D5. If bishop F4, we transpose to Jabava, London, where the knight's already committed to F3, or a Barry attack. I guess it's a Barry attack with the knight on F3. White does like E3, bishop E2, and H4. That's probably the best. It seems to be better than bishop G5. This isn't so bad, though. I played this a few times with white. I feel like something's wrong with the position, though. What's wrong with this position? Knight E4. I can't figure out what's wrong with this position. No, this is something's not right about this move order. I can't figure out what it is. Queen D2. I don't understand what's wrong with this move order. We would normally see G6, Knight C3, Bishop G7, Bishop G5, D5. Yeah, I don't understand why there's no games here. Knight E4, Knight E4, Pawn E4, Knight E5. This is a different position. F6 here. I don't know what I'm thinking of. It's really strange. Anyways, this is your driver submission, transposing to the Pierz. Okay, it's a Pierz classical, or actually not, because it's black hasn't played D6 yet. If I submit a game, can we skip the end game? Absolutely. You just tell me where. Uber driver said that Bobby Fischer used to allow E5 in the King's Indian. But guess what? This isn't a King's Indian. I got bad news. In the King's Indian, white plays C4. So, Uber driver's technically, we can't make that comparison. The Pierz is riskier than the King's Indian. That's why I smack people who play this. When you play this move order, black's supposed to play D5. And he didn't. And now it's still fine. D6 is fine. But this is totally experimental. And now, okay, there's a game here, Shevchenko. Wonder if he had his computer working. Hey, what happened with Shevchenko? Any news on that? Any developments in the Shevchenko conspiracy theory story? You know, the Shevchenko Spanish team championship? Now that I've banned Ripunj permanently from the stream, we need Mr. Coffee to handle the gossip. But I'm interested in facts, not so much gossip. So I trust Mr. Coffee with the facts. 98, H4. Yeah, black has a problem. You have this game memorized. Oh, you mean chess? Yeah, no problem. So h4. And everyone played d6 here. These tricks. No, this game? Well, that would. How would you do that? You're like Uber driver or his opponent. How would you do that? You would already memorize this game. You'll explain later. Okay. What I'm wondering is, if we try to play Bishop G4 illegally, would Uber driver notice? Oh. Yeah, that's weird. Oof. But it does make you wonder, like, when did he start cheating? Alright, how long has this been going on? Maybe if he confesses, they'll give him a shorter sentence. It's like, okay. Yeah, h5, bishop g4. h5. Now, there's something I wasn't sure about when I saw this game. In general, we take back with the h pawn. Unless it's like the Yugoslav dragon where there's bishop on, I don't know, e3, queen on d2, and you're coming in with bishop h6, you're directly checkmating us. I think the default should be to take toward the center. And I don't see white doubled on the h-file just yet, so I was a little surprised when I saw in this game from Uber Driver that black took this way. I'm having trouble getting it. You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to take back with the f-pawn in this particular position? It's like he wanted to attack. No, I'm sorry, you're not attacking, dude. You're getting attacked. This is a really, really strange decision. That's like, you'd have no business taking back with the f-pawn here. The only reason you take back with the f-pawn would be like you're avoiding mate in 1 on h7 or something, and you need the flight square for your king on f7. This is just like making matters worse. Now we have to worry about this diagonal too. It's not bad enough that we have the h-file, but the bishop c4 as well. And that's what happened, bishop c4 check. And now he literally... Okay, I guess he was depending on this move. But king h8 is horrific. Because here, it's like game over if we just sack a rook. Rook takes, king takes, then g5 check, king h8, and queen g4. This would be like no chance for survival. You're done. e6 isn't a lot better, but it controls g5. And I don't like that I got sudden sniffle going on here. I was just sick for like almost a month. There's something about Bugs Bunny in the notes that I've never seen before. Annotations representing or annotations reflecting something about Bugs Bunny. Man, yeah. Well, now rook takes h7 doesn't work. But kudos for Bugs Bunny to find this knight g5 move. I do have a question. That's all, folks. Oh no, these tricks. Oh no. You're not, you know who. What about queen takes g5? What do? Bishop takes e6 check? I think this is better than what happened in the game. Well, you take the queen, I take the queen. You take on e6 check. Black moves the king. But according to my calculations, white isn't up any pieces here. Right? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. White is up a pawn. That's definitely the best try. It's like +2. It's even more, it's +4. Knight c6. And then f4. So it's more than just a pawn. It's massively well coordination. Massively well coordinated. Massively. Very well coordinated. I'm just going to start ranting like Donald Trump. We'll talk about Arnold Palmer's penis size. He definitely has dementia. I mean, I'm in the early stages, and I recognize it, you know. Alright. Yeah, you just start saying stuff, like, massively... Right. Alright, I'm ranting. I'm sorry. So the game continuation was even better. Alright, bishop takes d1. Bishop takes e6 check. You sack the queen. Rook f7. Obviously, king h8 is made in 1. And then, here was cool, because I expected bishop takes. Bishop takes gets a little messy, huh? That was too messy for Uber driver. Took with a knight. Queen e7. Knight g5 check. And now, this is a beautiful mate, obviously. But he has to sack his queen. Black just didn't want to sacrifice his queen. Queen e6. Knight e6. Save the bishop. You know, here we go again. You're like +4. This is funny. In this instance, even cooler. So here you're +4, and white is not even up any material. Just a rook. You're up the exchange. My bad. No, here you're up the exchange. Alright, I'm sorry. You're up the exchange. King h8, mate. Alright, let's get it over with. It was a masterpiece. But I want to know, like, how bad is f takes g6? There was an actual game here that continued and was a draw back in 1997 between two 2300s. After h takes g6, white played bishop h6 and failed to win the game. So what's the evaluation? Check this out. F takes g6 isn't even on the board. It doesn't even make the... Okay. Well, I've got double d takes c5, but even knight c6. F takes g6 is so bad. Seriously. It's so bad that just ignoring the capture is better than taking the f-pawn here. He sent me this game after whooping me in an arena tournament. Ah. Aha, I thought you were him. I was thinking you were the Uber driver's new Smurf account. Alright, we'll wait for Bugs Bunny. But, literally, yeah. He has to take with h-pawn. How bad is it? Bishop h6. This is not good for black, but we can see, like, someone actually survived this position. Rook takes h6, d takes e5. And now rook h4 attacking the bishop, threatening queen d2, queen h6 very strongly. Oh, wow. Check this out. Black has queen takes d4. What a neat response. Wow, what a variation. Queen takes d4 because this is covered. And now queen c1, double exclam. Threatening the queen, but also threatening queen h6 with mate. So now white has to sack his queen. Bishop takes f3. What a beautiful variation. Queen h6, queen h4, queen h4. And then bishop c6 when white is winning, based on material advantage of queen versus rook and knight. Queen versus rook and knight and two pawns. But mate down the h-file is highly likely. Alright, anyway, Uber Driver, thanks for the game. I still got no games. Guys, we'll be right back in a minute. Waiting for my next game to analyze. Huh. What's up, guys? World Series starts, what, like tomorrow? That's really weird. NetDog's not here, but on Tuesday we were talking about baseball and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and NetDog, who's Mexican, was talking about, he's originally from Mexico, he was talking about Fernando Valenzuela. And like, we talked about Fernando Valenzuela on Tuesday, and he like died. Like right after talking about him. We like cursed him or something. Neither of us knew that he was like, that he died. I thought like afterwards, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that's why NetDog brought it up. But he was only 63. It's weird things like that. Like you talk about someone and they die. All right. It's not like I go around talking about Fernando Valenzuela on my chess stream every day. No clue. And then you like turn on the news and he's dead. All right, waiting for our next game submission. Is anyone out there? Earlier, so we've had nothing but problems with Sack Draw. He's probably busy. He's probably multitasking. He's been chat banned for tilting during his games. That's almost as bad as dying at 203. That's as bad as my donation bar getting stuck at 2031.03. But I mean, it's really weird how those coincidences happen. NetDog and I talking about Fernando Valenzuela on the stream because the Dodgers are in the World Series, and he's from Los Angeles area, and neither one of us, I don't know though, I don't know his time of death. Like, I don't know if he died before or after we're talking about him. But neither of us I had a clue. And then when I saw it in the news, I was like, oh, that's why NetDog was talking about Fernando Valenzuela. I didn't understand it. And then it turned out he didn't know. Like, neither of us knew that he had died until later, which is weird. I remember watching him pitch in 1981 when he won the Cy Young Award or whatever. And he must have been 21, which is scary. So in 1981, I was like 9. 8. So he's like 13 years older than me. So he was only 13 years older than me when he won the Cy Young Award or whatever. Legendary baseball player, but... Alright, guys. What are we doing here? I've got no games. No games. No one cares. No one loves me. I guess we'll just play Fortnite or something. Play. Arena. Study. Learn. Study. Puzzles. I don't know. We've been getting This appears to be an easy one. That's always dangerous. C5 looks really, really good. How can C5 not be the answer? C5 takes King C6, King A5, King C5, King A6, King C4, King A7, King E4, King B6, King F3, King C6, King G3, King D6, King A5. Forget it. How could C5 not be the answer? You know, if he has protected past pawn, I can't win. But I can lose. I would probably lose. So I have to play pawn takes pawn. Now, I'm not certain that White is threatening anything. He might be threaten to play King D6. a5, king d5. The thing is, like, a5 might win, but king c6 might win as well. King c6, c5, a5, king c4, a4, king b4, a3, king a3, king c5, king b3, king d4. Why don't both of these moves win? a5, king d5, a4, king d6, a3, c5 check, king b7, king d7, a2, c6 check. So I think I have to blockade the pawn first. Oh, we got it. We got it based on all principles, though. Alright, I got a game from Diecast Illusion. He says, I sent one. I'm curious to have your thoughts on a couple moves. Okay. Diecast Illusion. Thanks for being a subscriber. So, next one. Oh. Get PGN. That's a long PGN. This has been analyzed by the computer. Alright. Add a new chapter. Oh, you're black. Yeah, French defense. My bad. I wasn't sure if I should send the PGN or not. It's fine. I've learned to deal with every possible variation. Just don't make me log into chess.com. And don't say that. I'm allowed to say it. I don't like to say it. I'll say it if I have to. The evil chess site. E4, E6. Now, against the Caro-Kann, this is something of a cult following. And it's not great there, but not as bad as it looks like, not as bad as you'd think. But against the French, I have never seen... I can't recall, like, ever seeing a legit player play bishop c4 here. What's the difference ultimately? I think that e6 is more of a developing move because your bishop is in the game. It also, and in the same vein, like, it also makes it possible for you to castle more quickly than versus the Caro-Kann. Yeah, c6 Stormatron is the hillbilly. But you never see anyone, trying to play the hillbilly against the French. And I'm just trying to understand it exactly. Why it's so much worse against the French. Objectively, I wonder what the engine would say. Well, the main point of the hillbilly, I'll show you guys, is misunderstood by a lot of people. A lot of beginners will go play the hillbilly, and then when you play d5, they'll take. But taking is a huge mistake. Taking only helps black, bringing the pawn toward the center. The point of the hillbilly is to drop this back and then play it like a sort of gambit, basically. Black is not obligated to take this pawn, but it's kind of the main point. White offers this pawn, and then you get kind of crazy lines like queen h5. However, in the French, if we try to do this, try to do the same thing effectively like bishop e3, what do we think? I mean, to me, looks like this still isn't that clear. Like it's kind of a reasonable sort of pseudo gambit, I guess. Knight c3, knight f6. Supposedly, I don't know. I would guess like f3 maybe. Supposedly f3. I would assume. It's not good, but is it worse than like the hillbilly? The one game there was pawn takes pawn, and white's going to play an exchange variation of the French down a tempo at least. I'm not even sure like b3 is the best square for the bishop, because it's so dead against the structure. It's very possible that like bishop e2 is a better move than bishop b3. But okay, anyway, this has nothing to do with the game really. When you encounter this, you got people who are playing the Baudelaire attack against the Sicilian. Like you could play c5 and transpose to closed Sicilian, so-called Baudelaire attack, whatever. But d5 is much more, dynamic. Another interesting move for black would be knight f6. You could counterattack the center. But I think this is a bit risky. e5, d5. No, d5 is the principled move. That's what you played. And then white takes, and you take back, and he plays bishop b3. So, that bishop is kind of dead for now. And what you did makes a lot of sense. You strengthened your shell. You strengthened your shell at d5 essentially with c6. You're playing against the bishop on b3. I think objectively the position is close to equal, maybe a tiny bit better for black. You're going to follow up with bishop d6. But I think there's also a case to be made for not playing c6. So there's more than one way to, there's more than one way to approach the same problem. c6 is a very solid way of playing, but it's also not the most aggressive. c5. c5 would be much more aggressive, but also riskier, because our d5 pawn is softer. But anyway, even if you want to play c6, you don't have to play it now, remember. Which would be my only criticism of c6. You don't need to play it. True, there's a problem. Bishop d6, bishop takes d5. That is a problem. If you want to play bishop d6, you have to play it. Your alternative would be like knight f6. That's what this guy played in the opening Explorer. And that has some drawbacks, because sometimes in the exchange variation of the French, you get pinned by bishop g5. You also have to watch the file, because on queen e2 check now you have to play either this or this. And this isn't ideal. So probably bishop e7. You can castle and bring your rook to e8 quickly. For example, bishop e7, knight f3, castles, rook e8, and you're going to gain more time against the queen. But at the end of the day, how much does it matter in such a symmetrical position? It's kind of hard to say, Alright, but c6 is fine. White played h3 now, which is really a bit of a strange move. He's like afraid of the pin. So he's preemptively preventing you from pinning his knight in advance with h3. I think the best move looks like bishop d6. Even though there's no pawn there to attack with the Greek gift sacrifice or whatever, that's not... You were inaccurate and wasn't allowed to play bishop d6. Well, I don't know if it's inaccurate, but my only point would be like, don't refrain from bishop d6 because he's no longer putting his... He's not leaving his pawn on h2 or something. It's still the best square for your bishop. First of all, you prevent him from playing bishop f4, and secondly, you leave the e7 or f6 options available to your knight, and you guard this diagonal. This for me is very arbitrary. There's a interesting kind of like lesser known principle that I would say people don't know about that would make it lesser known. Usually the queen's bishop is the last minor piece that should develop. So your bishop is developed from its original square. You don't need to develop it. You're probably not castling queenside here. And honestly, like, this is a very useful move in this type of position, in the Bodler or whatever, to activate your rook and threaten to trap his bishop or whatever. But I mean, you get knight a6 maybe. So the point is, like, your rook can be active, your knight can get out without even needing to move your bishop. You don't need to move it. So I think this is okay, but what does it really do? What does it do? The bishop's outside the pawn chain. I wouldn't play that. No, I think you should develop your bishop to d6, and then decide, which square for your knight and castle kingside. Not to say it's not impossible. Castling queenside isn't impossible. All right, this move is a bit artificial. Bishop f5, knight f3, knight f6, castle, and then bishop e7. See, that's not a big deal, but you didn't get your bishop to the better diagonal. And now you have a reason not to play it because you delayed your kingside development. Now bishop d6, check. And there you'd have to play like bishop e6. And you could probably sacrifice a pawn like Blackburn or Pillsbury, for example. I just want to point this out. In this type of scenario, I wouldn't be surprised if you had compensation, because the guy has no development, as f2 is very weak here. The only problem is you have to watch for this. This is a real doozy. Rook takes c4. But I mean, keep in mind that as an option sometimes you can sacrifice that pawn. It's your bad bishop after all. Alright, so you made some minor mistakes. d3, and then knight on bd7, you're threatening knight c5, and then knight e2, and you improved your bishop. But the problem is, he can trade it off with bishop f4. So I'm not sure if it's even worth it to move it again. You might as well play h6 now. I think you're playing this London type of structure. You might want to give your bishop the retreat square back to h7. Not forced. Not forced. I mean, I'm fine with this. And if knight g3, we go to g6, and if he trades it off, he trades it off. I don't care. If he trades it off, take it. It's not that great anyway. So this is probably the safest way to play. Like, give him your bishop, I don't care about it. You're fine. Winning is another matter. But bishop d6, knight g3, bishop g6, knight h4, he goes for it, fine. Now, I don't like this square. You might have to realize that he has possibility of using that square. Queen f3, knight f5. It might be just as good or better than actually taking your bishop. So I think this move, because in some cases you might want to come back here, temporarily at least. Let's see what he does. See, queen c7. Now if he plays knight f5, what are you going to do? I don't want to give him the dark square bishop for a knight. The other bishop I don't mind. Now you have to make like a really awkward move. Probably, I really don't know, you know. You might have to give it to him. Maybe your best bet is to give it to him. Give him your extra bishop. But I don't love this. You've got to be careful your other guy doesn't get trapped by something f4, f5. So I think like you could have done h6. You could have done rook e8 now, and then met this with this. Now if bishop f4, you have lots of options. This is a good move. Knight c5, knight e5. Although I don't know where you're going to go from there. Probably not. Better to go to c5. Yeah, you can try bishop f4, but I saw a problem with that. The problem with that is not just this, but he can play queen f3 and force your hand. Maybe it's not a big deal, but he can force you to exchange on his terms, like take. And the queen on f3 is a pretty useful move for white. You can attack it, but then that might backfire. You know, you get pinned on this diagonal. So I think you should just stay solid. Position is equal, but you could have been better, at least slightly, and you didn't. You know, now you did what? Oh, this is the same theme. Okay. So this is a similar theme from the game, from the Uber driver game. But I mean, you know, in your case, this is a little more. I think this is a little more forgivable than Uber driver's opponent. Uber driver's opponent had like no sense of danger. He was under a much scarier assault. This isn't great. But in order for white to exploit that diagonal, he has to make like a very anti-positional move. He would really have to try like c4 or something to open this up, and I don't think he's going to get away with it. If he tries to do that, I think he probably like worsens his position ultimately. So he can't open this diagonal, really. So it's not necessarily a bad move. I'm more concerned about this square, probably. That also may not play a major role. It's difficult to see white exploiting that square. What's he going to do? You know, get in there? You're just coming with the other rook. You know, if he does this, is f2. So a weakness isn't a weakness if it can't be attacked. This diagonal can't be opened. This square can't be exploited. So I think that your move is fine. This is a strange decision, in my opinion, to play a5 now. It would have made more sense like when your rook was still there. Secondly, he's not threatening bishop takes a7, because bishop takes a7 gets trapped. You know, so you should leave it there unprotected. This is a bad move. Not a terrible move, just not necessary, you know. You could do something more constructive here. White reacts, and now you don't know what to do. Well, you have dark squares. And I guess that's about it. One idea would be to knight h5, knight f4. This is probably going to lead to a lot of exchanges. I don't know that we have any kind of real chances to directly attack white. I think the best you can do is to find your way to accumulating very small advantages. You know, trying to just slowly accumulate advantages, which is, I think, my preferred way of playing in general. This is nice, but I don't think a real concrete attack is going to materialize here. Alright, Cesek draw. So, this is a very strange move. That's an acerbate-like move. It's awkward. You know, this is like... You're going to the prom and you have, like, Asperger's. Acerbate. Rook e5. Wants to dance, but realistically, you're putting your rook in front of the minor pieces, right? But I mean, the way to play with this would be knights first. Knights are the trench warfare guys. You go with your knights first. Rooks and bishops are distance pieces. So either knight c5 hit him. And we'd like to get his darts for bishop. If he cooperates with that, that's fine. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind getting his bishop. But, you know, if you don't want to trade anything, then go here. And you're going through f4. Maybe you could find some tactics somewhere. Not going to be easy. With your queen on d6 and your bishop on c7, I think your attack is a lot more realistic. You could switch the position of your queen and bishop. The switcheroo, like queen d8. Acerbate's favorite maneuver. I mean, with the queen on c7, maybe we have some ideas. With the dumb end of the diagonal, it's hard to do anything. So now rook h5, but it's white square. It's very hard to attack him on the white squares. So he trades off your dark square bishop. That's fine. So now we've got two knights versus bishop and knight. It's not a bad rook, but I still don't think it's going to be... Well, I don't think that white played great either, you know. After rook e5, he must have better moves. There's a trap here, though. You know, you're kind of hoping for that. But let's say... What should he do here? No, I mean, to be fair, rook e5 is not that bad. I just don't think it's his best. Trading those pieces. Oh, now he dropped a piece. Dropped a pawn. He dropped a pawn with knight e4. Panic. So queen d2. You have knight c5. Oh no, he's also on a5. So this is a good move by white. Queen d2. You have to worry about c4, but not that much actually, you know. First of all, your d5 is extremely well protected. Secondly, c4 puts more pawns on the wrong color. You know, he has a better chance of probably getting his bishop to this diagonal. Alright. This blunders a pawn. You missed it. You should take it. It's a free pawn and you're likely winning. You mean he has c4 at the end? Is that what you're talking about? Ah. Maybe you meant here. But this isn't enough. Maybe. Alright, maybe. Maybe it is. A good try. His best try. His best try. I agree. He has the trap c5 check. If knight c5, he's got this defended. So if you know, if he takes, you might have something here. A4, no. You probably have to just take it. Yeah, this is not so clear. C4. Knight e4, pawn e4, rook e4, c4. I still don't believe it. A4. Let's try this. Maybe. If he takes, you're still better. But okay, not so simple. I agree. I agree. So you decided not to take, play queen e5 here. But objectively, it's still a draw. It might have been the best. You what? I was firm, my opponent lost on dark squares. Well, was worse than dark squares. He's not lost. He's still not lost, I don't think. Just gonna take, you know, good defense by white. It's a pity. I mean, c3 looks like a good move. So he walks into knight g4. Wow. That's a hell of a move. Yeah, you sort of snuck up on him there. I didn't see it coming. I could have easily, like, blundered that. He could sack his queen, but c3 weakens the structure. So if he's going to sack his queen, he'd be better off... What? He doesn't really want to sack his queen, though. He's got to have a move here. Knight g4, g3. The queen f3 move. Queen f3 is no good. Okay, he has d4. d4. Alright. No, he has to play d4. No, that hangs. Oh, man. g3. It might be better than other options, to be fair. g3, give them the pawn. Give you the pawn. This knight g4 is amazingly annoying. Rook e1. You still have a strong attack after knight g4. Jesus, that's a... Oh, you have to move the queen, though. Okay. You still have to, you can move the queen a lot of places. You just take on b2. Yeah, this queen d2 isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. I mean, just taking this pawn. No. You had knight g4 anyway. Is it g3 now? It's not so clear. Computer says queen e1. He had this offer trade of queens. I didn't see it. Is it better than queen d2? You shouldn't trade queens. Queen b2, queen a5 is fine. You're still better. But don't trade queens into an endgame where he has bishop versus knight and your rook is offsides. This is tragic for white, though. Really nice move, knight g4. He has to sack his queen. Right? Because if g3... Knight f2, rook f2, queen takes g3 check, rook g2, and you happen to have, well, I mean, even this. That's out of nowhere. Out of absolutely nowhere. Yeah, I can understand the guy falling into this. So he played f4, check, and then mate. Wow. Impressive. Yeah, I don't know. Not a bad game though. You eventually got him on the dark squares. And well, thanks to rook e5. What should he do after rook e5 though? What about, you know, a sensible developing move like queen d2? This has to be better. This has to be better than what happened, right? At the end of the day, he didn't develop his pieces. He should play queen d2 immediately. He never developed the rook, and he never really got his queen in the game till it was too late. You like rook e1. I like keeping f2 protected, but rook e1 was an option too. Alright, so I got a game for sac-sac draw. We're going to go right to the end game. Move 30. Copy PGN. For move 30, add new chapter. Paste. What? Yeah. Alright. So we go to move 30. Sac-sac draw is playing Aliakin. So this is move 30. This is a typical situation. Two bishops don't look so good here. Black's pawns are all in the right color, except for b6. Can't have everything. You have control of the open file. The other open file, no pressure. Yeah, typical Aliakin where you played bishop g4 and bishop takes f3. The dark square bishop's kind of a bad bishop, active bad bishop. You have a good bishop. Difficult for white to do anything. It also might be difficult for you to do anything. His rook is awkwardly placed on b3. It's paralyzed. But what did you do? I mean, you got some tricks? Like a b5 takes a5 a4 or something? You're thinking about tactics? Black is clearly better. I don't know if you're clearly better, but it's clear you're better. So the simple thing to do would be double up. That's what you did. But it's white to move. But I agree with this move in general. Rook c6, rook double. You might have threats infiltrating. If you play rook c6, you also guard b6. You could exchange pieces too, like at some point. Maybe you can offer an exchange of bishops. It's hard for him to exchange pieces. But in general, the exchange of bishops should be favorable for white. That's his bad bishop and it's your good bishop. It's the only exchange of pieces you can force. Again, I was also looking at b5 takes a5, a4. b5 takes a5, b6 is a problem. I'm just getting acclimated to the situation here. White to move, played rook e1. By the way, like, white winning this position ever, the only thing in white's position that I like would be like him advancing his kingside pawns somehow, you know, chipping away at your structure and trying to play like g4, g5, h5. You know, if the rooks were all off the board, or one of the rooks were off the board, maybe white would have some attempt to play for a win. But right now it seems like black is definitely better. So rook e1, rook c6 is a really good move. I was wondering if you might have threats with sacking your knight to generate some threats against his king. If he puts the bishop on g4, you have h5. This is a tempting move for white, but you just can play h5, which is useful anyway. So another idea for white could be like h4. To try to trick you tactically. Bishop takes h4, rook h1, attacking h7. What do you think? Is there anything here? g5 doesn't look good. I don't like the look of this. So I think if he does h4, I mean, maybe this is actually a good try for white. If you don't have a concrete threat. Well, you don't have a threat, right? Yet. I see you did a5 a little bit later. But how do we deal with h4? We just ignore it, I guess. You can meet h5 with g5, try to lock the king side, or just ignore it. But I think like this, I don't know about this allowing g4. Maybe even that's fine. You could just take and play like rook h8. Your position is so solid, maybe you're even winning a pawn there. So it's possible h5 is good. Alright, so he does nothing. He plays rook e2. Now you doubled your rooks. He plays bishop g4. I expected h5 from you. I don't think there's a lot of downside with h5. You know, he can play bishop f3 and then g4, but it takes time. Dr. Tripchance, welcome. I know. I mean, you could play g4 later, it's true. But you're not obligated to play it. But what do you have? You know, a5. I get it. It looks pretty dangerous. It's a neat idea. You obviously alluded to it, you know. Everyone saw a5 except for you. Little reference. My favorite moment. a5, anti-positional, making your own pawns ragged, but you're threatening the devastating bishop e4. Not clear how devastating it actually is. I just want to say that his move rook e2 is really awkward, because it takes away his king's retreat square back to e2. You know, that's generally not a good idea. He definitely wants some light squares to go to. That wasn't the best thing to do. a5. I want to be able to go back there in case you like sack your knight or something. Okay. Knight e5 check, bishop e4. Clearly the idea is bishop e4. This move I don't know about. The first question I have is black threatening anything? If you're not threatening anything, I don't think he should play rook b5. Rook b5 might be worse than b3. Because it gets cut off from defending the b pawn. Are you threatening something? I mean, I get bishop e4, but then what? You do bishop e4, and then you're threatening what? Knight takes b2 doesn't work. Rook b5 was concrete, made it harder. Okay. I don't see him threatening anything. You mean b3? Uh-huh. Yeah, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Are you... You're trapping his rook if he goes b3 with knight a3. I don't know. I don't really understand what's going on here. It doesn't seem like either side has a concrete threat. Rook takes d5. This is... I don't see that. I don't see how that's going to happen. Only if you were to make your rook not there or something. It's a thing, but it... Again, I don't see any variations where that's going to happen. So you go here. And now, do you have a threat? Maybe you just get him in a containment tank. I mean, I'm going to go down, you know, I'm going to go to my grave criticizing rook b5. Because I think rook b5 could lead to the downfall of white. It looks more trappable there than it was on b3 at the end of the day. What would happen if, like, just hypothetically, you like were able to play rook e8 and say knight d6, bishop takes d6, rook takes d6. Say you get like an opposite color bishop and rook endgame, whereas rook is on b5. I just want to throw something out there. Let's just do like some random move. Okay, here, here, whatever, here, here, here. What I'm saying is like something like this. If this happens, right? Is that rook on b5 losing the game, or is white okay here? This is what I'm wondering. Can he really just be okay? Is rook on b5? Maybe. Because you're also obligated to protect the pawn, but you could get your king over there and protect with the king, leaving him effectively down the exchange. Let's see what the computer says. Wow. He's okay. I certainly would feel a little bit concerned, but that's interesting. That's just a hypothetical. So, alright, he played h4, which I like. That's a normal move. You played rook e8. It looks like you're doing what I said. Oh, shit. It's pretty much like what I said. You did what I said. But I wonder if it was the right decision. Do you have anything else? You almost have like knight a3. I guess that's not going to work, huh? Almost works. I wanted to do this. Yes, this. I keep thinking there's some way to play for mate. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are you threatening bishop d6? He'll just get away. Yeah, I mean, you did what I thought would happen with going for knight d6. But you took with the bishop, which is not what I expected. But the plus side, well, the only plus side of bishop takes d6 is that you keep the c file, which the computer didn't like in the other line. The engine's problem with this whole thing was rook c2. And even though his rook is ridiculous on b5, you got either c7 or c6 or c8. So it's like, yeah. Maybe if your king was on d7, this would work. But yeah, he played actively on the king side. h4 was a smart move. He opens it up. Let's go back one more move. Is there any other way to do this? You could play king e7. But you can't put your king anywhere else. It's hard to see something better. Alright. But, so rook takes, rook c2. Rook in the box. Dynamism is what matters, ops color bishops. This is a typical example. I'm even thinking about e5. You have no losing chances here. With his rook embedded. You could like lose the b6 pawn and still a draw. But alright, bishop takes. Now he gets out. But he doesn't, right? You trapped him again. Alright, now he's going to get out over here. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I was hoping for something concrete there. D4 pawn looks pretty screwy. It's difficult to attack twice. You have rook c1 now. If rook c1, you can't go to d1. Damn. Yeah, he's keeping you busy with that bishop on g4. Why not e7? Because your king on d6 looks pretty good, actually. That could be quite useful. This is okay, but you're not in any danger. But if you go here and he repeats, you go to d6. And I think you could even be winning in variations with like e5. Because his rook is so messed up on b3. Probably white should play f4 now. Well, at least think about it. It's pretty committal, but alright. It is a serious consideration. So, let me see this again. King f6. You could be construed as threatening e5. Check. I don't see the advantage in this. He goes there. What's that about? That's basically a terrible cheapo. But you can't play e5 because of bishop d7. That's so dumb. You can prepare it, but he still has f4 type stuff. Well, now, I don't quite understand what's happening. He takes the pawn on e6. I guess this is a fast game. But I would be very seriously considering rook g4. I'm not sure. I guess rook h5. I think you're going to have to play e5 at some point. If you're going to make any progress, you're going to need to make this break. But I mean, this looks kind of dangerous for him. Oh, he goes back. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, I thought you tricked him, but you actually blundered. Well, anyway, I mean, clearly you have a better move, don't you? Rook h4. You can play rook h4, which is an improved version of what happened. And now I think you're making progress. This is a little worrisome for white. You have concrete threat of rook c4. He's going to have to be careful. No, even so, I mean, even if you get in rook c4, bishop takes e6, rook takes d4 check, yeah, he can try to run away, but where? Rook e3. I guess rook e3. Then you go here, and when he takes, which way does he take? With the bishop? I don't know. He's going to end up with his king on f3. When he might survive. But yeah, he's really in danger. You have a strong passed pawn here. This looks pretty tricky. So this is a terrible blunder. So rook h4. The best try. He has to play rook g4, which is what I expected. And then rook g4, bishop takes g4, and you're slightly better. I don't agree with 0 here, you know. I do think that black is a little bit better. King f6, king e3. I mean, even here, like, you can play e5, d5, king e5, f4 check, king d6. I still prefer black, but it's probably a draw. Yeah, you had a good chance to see. You blundered this pawn, and now, all right, can we double attack d4 like bishop f6? You're probably still fine. Yeah, you should probably play this. Oh no, he has rook b5. Oh no. Alright, don't panic. It's still a draw. You never really had losing chances. Now there, obviously, you have a draw. Trying to win. One half wins. That's a new one. I saw that somewhere else recently. The second time this week I saw one half wins. What's up with that? The one half wins. Hey, what's up? Enjoy the ad break, Dragonfly Hunter. What does it mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Electoral voting system. Yeah, you have a nice move here. Rook G3 paralyzing his king. I don't think that white is playing for a win anymore in this position. I mean, you have like potentially 2 passed pawns. You could easily lose this with white. He needs to get his F pawn down the board, make you sack your bishop for it. Okay, so now here, Rook G2. You're up a pawn, but you can't mobilize it. Yeah, this is actually really good. He gets his bishop to B5, blockades at D3 and A4. That's a draw. Alright, guys. Any other last requests? Any other games or last requests? When did I start the stream anyway? 6. It's 9:20 now. I started at 6:45. I'm totally open to streaming for another 20 minutes. We have another game. I was looking at my games, and like all of them are tactical slugfests. The ads cost Twitch streamers more than Twitch gains from ad revenue. That's an interesting theory. I'm waiting for my last game submission for tonight. While we're waiting, we'll do another endgame puzzle. Or maybe just puzzles in general. I've been doing terrible at puzzles. I was doing terribly in the endgame puzzles. I got another endgame puzzle. Oh no, this looks familiar. Oh man, F5. Black's winning this. Queen's Gambit. King F8. I wonder if F6 is legit. Wow, F6. Do I think the A5 plan was too much? Well, I think it was kind of paradoxical. You're making like anti-positional move, but you're playing with tactics. You're trying to trap his rook. I don't think it was too much, but I would need more time to analyze the initial position. What other options do you have? You know, it seemed like a reasonable try to me. Especially if it's like a faster time control. If you had tons of time, I feel like you might have something better. Guys, what do you think about F6 here? Does he have F4? Oh, my head hurts. F6, F4. I think he just refuted F4. F6, I mean, refuted F6, F6, F4. I'm not sure about this. I mean, even F6 takes, king takes F4. Takes. Yeah, our pawns are pretty fast there. This is extremely complicated. What do you guys think? King F8? I know King F8 is the obvious try. But I need to see what happens on F4. What are you going to do after F4, bro? King F8, you've got a problem. Does it not work? Doesn't F4 pose a problem? Maybe not. King F8, F4. You have to take. And then king f3. And d4 is too slow, I think. Well, I'm not sure. I'm afraid king f8, f4, Dr. Tripchance. Might be too slow for black. The Dragonfly Hunter. King f8, f4, f6, f6 in response to f4. Yeah, I mean then king f8, f4, f6 takes. No. Good for black. Why? f6, f4 looks good for black. I'm going to need more evidence to the chess zebra. Looks good. I need more evidence. f6, f4. Well, what's your next move? f6, f4 takes on e5. We're going to need to see... It looks wild. Okay, maybe it's good. f6, f4 takes. King f7. How's our queenside situation? Who runs out of moves first? Wait to move b4, b5. a3, a6. Wait to move a3, a6. a4, a5. Wait to move. But let's just say f6, f4. Take, king f7, king e3, king e7. Now, how am I winning? King d3, king d7. King e3, what is that? So we have to get the Zugzwang. King d3, king d7, king e3, king e6, king d4, black to move first. If I play a6, you play a3. You copy every move I make. If I play a5, you play a4. And now I'm in Zugzwang and I lose. That looks like a draw to me. You know, it's like mutual Zugzwang. If I play f6, f4, f takes e5, f takes e5, king f7, king e3, king e7, king d3, king d7, mutual Zugzwang. Or whatever you call it. It's a standoff. If we try to win, we lose. I have a crazy idea. Let's see. We didn't consider d4. That's not going to work. If d4, king e2, bye-bye pawn. I mean, there's one thing. d4, king e2, f6. Now, if e6, king f8, king d3, king e7, king d4, king e6. That's a really freaky line. But I don't think that black is better. I don't know, man. This is an extremely complicated king and pawn game. So what did you get for me there, Dragonfly Hunter? It's a game. Versus Kung Fu Panda, of all things. Unbelievable. Somebody gift him a sub. He's not even a subscriber, for God's sake. Guys, come on, I've got 21 days till the World Senior. And I'm still not reaching my donation goal. Nimzo Indian, Nimzo Floridian. Alright. How do I get this game? How do I get this game? How do I get this game? Study. My studies. Okay, put it in there. It's in there. It's in there. Okay. This king and pawn game is very interesting. Extremely complicated. Well, I had another idea. H5. That doesn't seem very effective. I think that loses. So really, you got like a white actively threatening king e3. White looks fine. You've got to either play f6 or king f8. I don't think there's another move. d4's not that great. You literally have two choices. Sax draw is tip $5. It's like a gift sub. Thanks, Sax draw. We're up to 2,036 and 3 cents. Good job, Chess Zebra. Proud of you. We're proud of you. Why don't you just make light of St. Louis chess in general? And ask them how much they donated to Noah Hawley this election cycle. Screw them, man. Screw them. They took over the U.S. Chess Federation. It's not even U.S. Chess Championship anymore. It's an embarrassment. The U.S. Chess Federation is owned by an American oligarch. It's disgusting. It just makes me sick. It's like Chess.com. He has a monopoly on U.S. Chess Championships. Screw them. You know? It's sickening. Alright, anyway, guys, we're going to go back now. I'll solve this puzzle later. Nimzo Floridian. For you. Oh, good. That was a really serious infraction. Yoo-hoo. Alright. Serious infraction, dude. Unbelievable. Wow, that was terrible what you did. So Nimzo Floridian, let's flip the board. Last game for today, guys. I pray I'm not getting sick. My throat is acting weird. Black is too strong to not be titled. Well, no, I mean, but I have like a Smurf account. It could be a Smurf account. Yeah, they could be a title player, but I don't agree. Okay, Rapid and... Is 10-0 Rapid? It's Rapid, right? Nice, borderline. There's a lot of people who are like pro mouse clickers. Not all 2600s are equal, you know. Some of them are like really good players, and some of them are mouse clickers who are just skilled at pre-moving and stuff. They're really not equal. You could be a really competitive mouse clicker or like a legit player who is like a Smurf. And some people just don't want to pay FIDE $50 for their freaking FM title or whatever. So you never know. Carol Khan. The dreaded. No, but I mean, Sax draw, this particular time control. This is the one, you know. 10-0. Really fast players who specialized in 10-0 might do pretty well. C4. Flagging. Everyone but the computers. Yeah, I mean, there's more to the player than just being a mouse clicker. Okay. So we're happy to see e6, relatively quiet continuation. I think like both g6 and knight c6 are a bit more dynamic. And now you got the Nimzo, the possibility of transposing the Nimzo. Main move is c takes d, but you can also play bishop d3. There's a problem with c takes d. Not a problem, but I've had several people play e takes d, which is really annoying. And it's a little better for white, but it's another possibility. So bishop d3 is a Nimzo move order. They usually take. So Dragonfly Hunter is now playing. He's playing d4. I like it because I play both d4 and e4, so I'm okay with transferring. But if you're a really hardcore e4 player, you may not be comfortable in this Nimzo. If you're really an e4 player, you should probably play this, and most people take the knight, and then you have the choice. You can play both bishop d2. Well, bishop d2 is the best move. There's also queen c2. But queen c2, knight c6, bishop d3, bishop a5 is probably okay. Pretty good. So this is the best. Anyway, you go into Nimzo. Now we got like mainline, a sort of mainline Nimzo. I've played a6 here with black, and I had a terrible game I lost where I played like queen c7, which just was, don't know what I was doing. Knight on bd7 is normal, Karpov style. That's what he played, and the plan is queen c7. Usually trade the bishop on c3 and play like queen c7, b6, bishop b7. Michael Adams, Karpov. So, I don't know. Maybe I like queen d3. That's never played. There must be something wrong with it. What's wrong with queen d3? Larson versus Ulf, 1975. I don't know, for some reason no one plays queen d3. This is a standard move. Then we get the take. See, Michael Adams. Michael Adams is a great. Karpov. Michael Adams. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that sure about bishop g5. What else? Queen e2. But your a3 looks slow. I don't like a3, and I definitely don't like bishop e7. The guy's playing the Nimzo Indian, and you're blowing a tempo here with a3. This is the plan anyway for black, to play queen c7, give up the bishop in like b6 and bishop b7. So why the hell is the guy going back to e7? This transposes to something. It's like a Queen's Gambit declined. I think he might be transposed to some kind of passive Queen's Gambit declined. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm definitely taking, and I'm definitely playing Queen C7. Now Queen D3, Queen E2, but this A3, yeah, it's very positional. It's very positional, of course. You're lucky he played Bishop E7 though, because now you've got like attacking chances. It's a normal sort of IQP position where black has very little space. I definitely like white now. Bishop takes E3 will make sense. I mean, you see that's like the main line after Bishop G5 anyway. But I mean, you're going to give him a tempo, fine. Yeah, he's got to go into this either B6 or Queen C7. It's very hard for white to do anything against this. You know, this queen attacking there, the shelf, the elf shelf on F4. I saw Adams win some vicious games. And Karpov. Not easy to play. You should definitely steer clear of that. But the real question, yeah, someone said Bishop D3. Okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe the doctor is right. There's something to Bishop D3. Ildar played it against Belyavsky. So you do B6. But now we can go Rook C1. Belyavsky plays both sides of set position. Rook E1. Ooh, a lot of games now. But anyway. No, this is an interesting point too. Okay, I told you guys I've played A6 a lot here. And B6 is well known as the main move. That's like Kramnik-Kasparov from their match, the World Championship where Kramnik became world champion. Kasparov only lost 2 games, and this is one of them in this line, if I remember correctly. It was like, what, 20-game match where Kasparov lost 2 games and drew the rest? That was ridiculous. Kasparov clearly like wasn't the same, but like he wasn't trying or something. So now you played Rook E1. Kind of an ordinary move, but I'm most interested in like where we're putting our queen. I don't really like the combination of Queen E2 and Rook E1. You know? Maybe if you put the queen on E2, you should play Rook D1 a lot of times to support the D4 pawn. But I also think this is a classic move. I mean, you can always drop back and do the Aster mate on A7. But objectively, the position should be very slightly better for white. Okay, so this turns out to be a main move. If B6, do you have D5? No games. Yeah, so D5 is strong now. So he's supposed to play this, and this is like Lasker, Steinitz, or whatever. Bishop d7, bishop c6. It's very solid for black. I had this game with Władysław Laszlo, where he just like stuck his bishop on c6. You know, there's a famous game where Korchnoi lost against Karpov. Horribly. It was a little different than this, though. Yeah, I mean, taking this isn't anything. I beat Waitskin. With that structure. Rook e1, a6 is slow, but now bishop a2. I like bishop a2. Some guy played queen e2, but I like this better. It looks like you're ready to hit him with d5. You know, queen e2, though queen e2 looks like kind of a cheapo, to be honest. The guy played queen e2 in the game. Dias Paulo. But, what is that? Not sure I understand this queen e2. I like bishop a2 better. And now... The only thing that's weird about his position is like the whole a6 thing. You know, like why did he include a6? He didn't need a6. But I also think that rook e1 doesn't really do a lot. a6 weakens his position, like the strong point, this support points for your pieces. What about like bishop g5 now? He can play h6, por ejemplo, bishop h4, and then do the Korchnoi, Karpov. But this is not Korchnoi Karpov because black has a problem. No, normally, okay, like knight d5. But again, not sure if this works. Bishop takes, knight takes. You're still better here. Yeah, I'd probably play bishop g5. I'm not sure this does anything. Let's see though. The problem is bishop d7, bishop c6. So he does this. I'm not thinking this guy is super strong though. He doesn't seem like 2600. Played a lot of weird moves. Passive, bishop e7, a6. But bishop f4 is rare, Chess Zebra. That's like Zuckertort. You're not really supposed to put your bishop on f4 in these type of positions. That's not really standard. So he plays knight d5. You go here. I don't understand why black doesn't play bishop d7. Is there a tactic or something? Maybe queen f3? Maybe this is your try. If bishop d7, you have queen f3, which I don't love for black. So that's why he went here. You still have queen f3 though. I mean, keep thinking about where to put your queen. Is it here? Is it here? You played bishop g5 now. Black's trying to stay solid. Okay, here's a really insipid suggestion. Guys, last game, I gotta go, by the way. We'll be back tomorrow with some blitz. This is ugly. But I don't know that white has anything. Do we have something? Bishop takes d5? Maybe we have something. Yeah, knight takes d5. Do we have anything? Damn, we do. Something I'm missing here. Oh, you have a fork. Oh no. Bishop takes g5, knight takes e7. Queen takes e7, knight b6. Isn't he glad he didn't play? What the fuck am I doing? So bishop d7 doesn't work. Yeah, that's the problem. He can't develop his pieces normally now. So this is a huge concession. Giving you hanging pawns. Upgrading your pawns. This is a major upgrade. But this reminds me of the game I had with John Ems at the World Senior Team Championship. But it's worse. Because against Ems, his bishop was on a stupid square, like, I don't know, g3. And I could actually get in. My bishop was on d7, and I could get in b5. If his bishop was already on d7, so let's just, for example, if his bishop was already on d7, maybe he could play b5 here. But it's all too slow, right? Mr. 2600, you've been playing routine moves. Now he plays knight d5, and what's the rule? Oh, come on. You're definitely better if bishop d2. But I think yeah, you're better. Now he tries to be, solid. General rule. I mean, in a static type of structure where you have an IQP or hanging pawns, you want to attack, you have more space. I want to avoid exchanges of pieces. We couldn't avoid the first exchange. We can avoid this exchange. We have to consider this very seriously. I know that's his good bishop and it's your bad bishop, but this move is definitely plausible. He doesn't have b5 because of knight c6. So it's difficult for black to get developed. Maybe you also have the c4. If queen c7, for example, you have a lot of options. But alright, this isn't bad. Harry Nelson Pillsbury, favorite exchange of bishops. But I mean, do we have enough here? I know you're playing at 2600. It's better to play in Zen mode, Nimzo Floridian, and not know your opponent's rating. If you didn't know black's opponent's rating, your opponent's rating, I would think your opponent was like 2200 so far. Maybe even, hard to say. Depends on where you're playing him. He has to take with the knight. But now the problem is his position's pretty safe. He's basically like one move away from equalizing. So you need to play actively here. But I don't think that c4 is the right plan. Yeah, I do like queen f3. It prevents the b-pawn from moving. But I mean, I also think that Steinitz could probably defend with black. Even f6 has to be considered. I think it's not good though. This is too much of a weakness. So I would anticipate queen c7. There's no reason to rush for c4. When you play c4, you create a target for him at d4. So I think you should kind of keep the status quo here, if it's possible. You know, other moves are possible, like a c3 Sicilian type of move. You got, you know, animal-like attacking plans. You could play rook c1. It makes clearance for bishop b1 without your rook getting shut out. Speaking of which, here, changing diagonals with the idea of rook a2, I mean, that might be a thing. You have a lot of options. c4, okay, it's not terrible, but I was expecting him to play this. It's pretty ugly. Maybe his move is better. But I mean, that's my problem. Yeah, I mean, Nimzo Floridian, it's a fast game, so he can't play like uber subtle chess here. It's a lot to ask in a 10-0 game against 2600. In path, you're going to lose the pawn? Well, not necessarily. But I just think you make his... Sorry. My problem with c4, I think you make his game easier to play. You know, not really going to necessarily lose it. I'm just saying, like here, when the pawns remain fluid, if you play a move like queen f3, black's position isn't that easy to play. You know, it's hard to suggest what he should do. But when you play c4, you make black's position much easier to play. You know, I think he's like, oh, d4 square. All right, now I have a concrete plan. I'm going to force d5, and you know, it's very easy to play black now. Knight f5. I still don't think you're worse, actually. And I think you also need to consider this. You still might be better. The danger would be, you know, dropping d4 again, but it's not so simple. If this also becomes weak, you still can push d5. I mean, whatever. Alright, so you push, yeah, you played like very predictably, and now knight d6. And I think at this point the position is equal. He looks too solid to be worse, but also your pawn is a force to be reckoned with. I don't think you're worse. I don't think he's worse. You know, but the computer might have different thoughts. I mean, Stockfish really likes space, and it also is going to respect the activity of your pieces here. And I don't think your structure's bad. Let's see if computer doesn't think white's better. Yeah. So the engine still thinks you're better. I don't think it's so easy to play. You have a great score for your queen at d4. Yeah, I mean, this is really insane what you did now. Queen h5. That's super caveman. This looks like a really good square. I mean, the queen is extremely well centralized. But again, you have a limited amount of time. Another move you want to consider is like bishop here. You wanted to keep your pawn protected. It's difficult to make a choice. Okay, queen h5 isn't terrible. It looks a little off sides. Now he's starting to look like a good player to me, you know. This guy. At first I was unimpressed, but now when the going gets tough, he's starting to make really tight moves, you know. And this is a good move by you from a practical standpoint. He has bishop g6. Yeah, that's super tight. Well, let's just say your opponent's strength isn't his opening play or opening theory. He's a very tight player. This is rock solid. And this is schematic what you did. You undermined his blockade of the pawn. That's nice. Was bishop g6 inaccurate? I'm just asking myself questions. This is pretty good. You took out his blockade. He can't blockade on d6. So really there's no way you should lose here. 2800, I don't care. This is an interesting moment though. Yeah, he didn't want to weaken his dark squares with g6. Should you go to f1? And I'll tell you why. It doesn't interfere with any of your pieces, but it also keeps an eye on his pawns. If, you know, in the future, you may want to play like a4 or break up his queenside structure. This is quite useful. You still have the flexibility to play like g3, bishop g2. Get out of the way of everything. You know, on e2, your bishop gets in the way of your rook. I know you're obviously like going to probably play bishop f3. It supports h4, h5 maybe, but I think I might just go here. I think the worst thing you can do is like put it stupidly like on b3 or something. I want to liquidate that queen side. I want to destroy that pawn chain. Yeah, rook e8 is kind of awkward. Oof, this is awkward. And now he blockades. Plays like a Russian to me, you know. Real solid, experienced, rock solid player with very little opening knowledge. Coffee house, Gorky Park player. No, I don't know. He's just a solid player. He's like Arbakov. No, I don't know. He's just a very solid player, I think. See, this was you were drifting. You're drifting. After b5, bishop f1, he could play rook e8 there as well. But I mean, you know, you're never losing this game. I think it's important. You're playing a stronger player. You want to play for a win, but at the same time, you don't want to risk. You want to keep a draw in hand. It's important. By playing this move, I think you do that. You keep this idea of blowing up his queen side. If you liquidate the queen side, there's no way you can lose. But the way you played it, you made a number of mistakes here. Bishop e2 is nothing special. And then rook e8, and now this is missing rook e4. Very nice move by black. And he gets a chance to blockade your pawn and then get pressure on your pawn on the queen side. This is kind of a disaster. A minor disaster. Because now you're faced with some danger. You haven't liquidated his queen side. And I'm thinking the stronger player is happy because he kept the game complicated and still has winning chances now. I could see you losing. Very solid move h6. And there's always the possibility that black is not a Russian but a computer. You know? But he certainly didn't play like a computer in the opening. The technique seems good. g3, h4, h5. I'm worried about your queen side. King h7 is a strange move. It's a very strange move. You know, that's weird. If he wants to make a waiting move, I would think like king h8. He blocks his own bishop retreat. This is the first weird move he's made in a while. It's like he's just playing for time. The first move, I would argue, he patently played for time. Is he thinking about f5, f4? So time, I would say right now, is the first move of the game where it feels like time had an effect on the play. This is kind of a weird move where he's just like marking time. Why not here? Why here? That like gets in the way of your bishop. Wow. That's totally surprising. I think my computer theory goes out the window. You take, you blockade pawn. You're threatening rook c6. Taking out his blockade again. He doesn't like that, so he did this first. Okay, here. So if he was to trade rooks, I mean, just for argument's sake, he's blockading your pawn, but your pawn is further advanced. This makes sense, though. Also makes his king move look even like almost logical in a way. He won't get checked on the back rank. You played bishop e4. So he's threatening this. Bishop e4. You have to expect f5. And you have rook c7. Oh my god. So Dragonfly Hunter specializes in tactical threats. Hello. That's a good turn of events for you. This is not really what Black wanted to see. Now he may regret playing f5. And by the way, like, f5 is not forced. You know, he could even like take with his king on g6 theoretically. Well, you didn't really hang a3, you traded it. But yeah, this is dangerous now. Rook g8, and it's down to time. You have way more time. It's surprising that he would miss that, though. A strong player. If he's 2600. But suddenly, your pawn is 3 squares from queening. Your king is safe, his bishop's bad. You're better. This is weird. Now, I don't know, g4 is tempting. But this is awful straightforward. Yeah. That was weird. In the sense that Black did what a lot of players online do, I see. They seem to be really inconsistent. Like, part of the game they play like an idiot, part of the game they play like a genius, and then part of the game they play like a average player. You know, you got like 3 different parts of the game where, you know, I feel like you played kind of normally, like you're supposed to. You know, you played okay in the opening, okay in the middle game, and you know, you won okay in the end game. Nothing special, but you played kind of consistently. But like White played the opening kind of not so good. Then he played great. He played great for a period, and then he like melted down again at the end. So it was like very inconsistent. You were more consistent. You didn't play like a computer, but you played pretty well, you know, most of the game. I thought this game was trending like toward you maybe losing until about like move 30, and all of a sudden you know, he plays king h7. So Black is slightly better. By the way, instead of king h7, what if he takes the open file? if he takes the open file first... Wow. Oh, you go to the open file. He trades. You're threatening rook c8 and queen e8. Black has to be careful. In the game, plays king h7. He played this. Yeah, he panicked here a little with rook c4. Plays this. Plays this. Plays this. You shouldn't have given the pawn, you said. Okay. Now you missed something. Rook takes c4. He had something. Oh, he was winning a bishop. He tried to tell me during the game, and I didn't understand what you were talking about. You just hung a piece, and he didn't see it. He's 2,600. Wow. That's crazy. Both of you have over a minute left. Yeah, at this point, you could have played queen c3. You probably didn't like this, but it's still, you're still fine. Right, you shouldn't have hung a3 as you said. You did hang it. I didn't realize your bishop was hanging. Okay. Yeah, so much for your consistency thing. Yeah, I didn't realize the bishop was hanging. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired and I didn't stop to listen. So here, this is a blunder. And now you lose a piece. It's funny that both sides would overlook that. Happens. So he's definitely not a computer. Rook b8, blunder. And then after bishop e4, maybe you're a computer. Now you started to play great. Now he's lost. Now he's lost. Your pawn's too strong. You were a computer. It was just a ploy to drop your bishop on f3. So h4. I don't like king h7. I still don't like king h7. It was a weird move. At h6, his internet went out. No. His phone turned off and he couldn't read the moves. He's a little bit better here, but it's not much, not enough. But I thought earlier when you played bishop e2, computer totally doesn't agree with me. It likes the stupid moves, bishop e3, bishop a2. Well, anyway, I mean, if the opponent's higher rated, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to play bishop f1 here. It's the safest move. And the bishop can go out to g2. This is awkward, though. You set yourself up for that. That's another good move. See, bang, bang. He's banging out good moves. Banging out good moves. Banging out good moves. h6 is good, and then bloop, king h7. Slight inaccuracy. This is hard to find, though. Peter wants to play queen f6. And if, you know, that keeps you tied down to a1, so you can't penetrate. Alright, interesting game. It should have been equal, but somebody's going to run out of time. And that's why I don't like playing sudden death. This is like, I mean, it's ridiculous to ask two players to play this position. Both sides have played well up until, like, move 30. Now it's a draw, but both sides have a minute left. And it's still complicated because both sides have, you have the central pass power, he has the queenside majority. Both sides should have an increment here. So they can play the game out in a human way rather than hanging pieces like idiots. Alright guys, I'll see you later. See you tomorrow. Thank you for the support. I'm going to play some Blitz challenges tomorrow. And then Simul Sunday. And I'm out during the midweek next week. Thanks guys for tuning in. Bye-bye.